Will the House please come to order and members kindly take their seats? Good morning. The devotional this morning will be led by the Reverend Joan Javier Duval of the Unitarian Church in Montpelier.
Good morning, everyone. Yehuda Amichai was an Israeli poet. Born in Germany in 1924, he left at the age of 12 with his family for Palestine. During the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, he fought for the Israeli Defense Forces. His service in that war, and also the backdrop of World War II, informed his poetry, and for me, bring even more depth to his poem, The Place Where We Are Right, which I share with you this morning. From the place where we are right, flowers will never grow in the spring. The place where we are right is hard and trampled like a yard. But doubts and loves dig up the world like a mole, a plow. And a whisper will be heard in the place where the ruined house once stood. In this time of intense political debate, of deepening factions, of the urgency of issues that are a matter of life and death, may you find a different place. Not the hard and trampled yard where we insist that we are right and they are wrong. May you find instead what Francis Kissling calls the crack in the middle, where there are some people on both sides who refuse to see the other as evil. From this place, may you lead with moral humility. May you seek to understand and to be understood. May you recognize one another's humanity and the integrity of your service and leadership for the common good. Thank you so very much for your service and blessings on your deliberations today. Thank you.
Members, it is with great sadness to announce that the member from Hyde Park, Representative Donnelly, is resigning from office. Will the clerk please read the resignation letter from the member from Hyde Park?
Dear Speaker Krowinski and Clerk of the House Rask, I write to offer my resignation from the Vermont House of Representatives, effective at the close of day, Friday, January 27th, 2023. This decision has been one of the most difficult that I have ever made. Serving in this capacity has truly been the honor of a lifetime, and at the end of the day, I simply cannot balance my desire to do right by this role and my community with the desire to do right by my mental health and the health of my marriage and family. Ironically, serving in this body ultimately solidified the skills that I would need to make this excruciating decision. In thinking about my decision to resign, I kept returning to a piece of writing that I did last year on the final day of the 2022 session. I recognize that sharing this in my resignation letter may not be traditional, but honestly, very little about me is traditional. So in the spirit of bumping up against tradition, I offer this piece of writing to you now. I offer it with gratitude for all that this space and the members of this body have collectively gifted to me and our state. Quote, the House floor is many things. When the seats are full and members are rising to speak or inquire, the energy in the space is palpable. Holding the emotional and energetic intensity of this space in my body is often uncomfortable. As life tends to have it, the moments that are the most difficult to hold are also the moments I am most honored to be a part of this legislative body. I am regularly awed by the collective willingness to hold on to the shared space, to move together through dense, messy, and uncertain work, to steer into and wrestle with palpable discomfort, make hard decisions, and emerge intact. But for all the humanity that a busy House floor holds, my favorite moments are the quiet ones. Crossing the threshold of the silent House floor, I am struck with a reverence reserved for sacred spaces. The legislature adjourned last night, and after the final roll call and the speeches, after members scattered to their cars and local bars, I returned alone to the quiet House floor. I sat in meditation on all this space has held. At the end of session, there is grief for all that's been lost and hope for all that we wish to gain. This space can hold all of it and then some. Last night, it held me with grace and love as I breathe my way into whatever comes next. I am forever grateful for this space, for everyone who has imbued it with the utterly human capacity to hold all the truths at once and move forward nonetheless. With love, gratitude, and solidarity, Kate Donnelly.
Member, we'll miss you and we wish you all the best moving forward. Members, we have 3 bills for introduction this morning. House Bill 122 is an act relating to prohibiting surveillance devices on private property without consent of the property owner, introduced by Representative Black of Essex. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H122, an act relating to prohibiting surveillance devices on private property without consent of the property owner.
Now, the bill has been read the first time and is referred to the Committee on Judiciary. House Bill 123 is an act relating to repealing the state lottery introduced by Representative Stevens of Waterbury. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H123, an act relating to repealing the state lottery.
Now, the bill has been read the first time and is referred to the Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs. Finally, House Bill 124 is an act relating to promoting rural economic development capacity, introduced by Representative Sibilia of Dover and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H124, an act relating to promoting rural economic development capacity.
Now, the bill has been read a first time and is referred to the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. Members, we have a joint resolution to take up at this time. JRS 10 is a joint resolution providing for the election of a sergeant at arms and 3 trustees of the University of Vermont and State Agricultural College, offered by Senator Baruth. Please listen to the reading of the resolution by title only.
JRS 10, joint resolution providing for the election of a sergeant at arms and 3 trustees of the University of Vermont and State Agricultural College.
Now you've heard the reading of the resolution, and it is placed on the calendar for action on the next legislative day pursuant to the provisions of House Rule 52. We have a related joint resolution, Senate resolution, to take up. JRS 11 is a joint resolution establishing a procedure for the conduct of the election of the University of Vermont and State Agricultural College trustees by plurality vote by the General Assembly in 2023, offered by Senator Baruth. Please listen to the reading of the resolution by title only.
JRS 11, joint resolution establishing a procedure for the conduct of the election of the University of Vermont and State Agricultural College trustees by plurality vote by the General Assembly in 2023.
Now you've heard the reading of the resolution, and it is placed on the calendar for action on the next legislative day pursuant to the provisions of House Rule 52. We have received a request to read a resolution that the House and Senate adopted pursuant to the consent calendar. HCR 1 is a House concurrent resolution congratulating the Green Mountain Girls Field Hockey Club on winning the 2022 National Hockey Festival U14 Championship. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
Whereas the Green Mountain Girls Field Hockey Club was established in 2019, named in homage to the Green Mountain Boys, and a flag of the club's logo, a silhouette of an F-94 Starfire jet, was flown on a Vermont Air National Guard training mission and presented to the Green Mountain Girls U14 select team at its first tournament appearance at the USA Field Hockey Disney Showcase in Florida. And whereas the team finished this January 2022 Disney event with an impressive 4th place, and whereas most recently at the 2022 National Hockey Festival tournament in Florida, and despite its pre-tournament 46th national seed, the Green Mountain Girls team won the U14 championship, defeating the 4th-ranked Central Pennsylvania Field Hockey Club 6-3. And whereas the Green Mountain Girls champions, who are from Chittenden, Lamoille, and Washington counties, were Violet Clow, Rosa DeJulian, Alice Dorman, Grace Landerman, Molly McGibney, Audrey Morris, Marianne Nunn, Lana Kwong, Olivia Roy, Cordelia Thomas, and Isabella Walsh. And the proud coaches were head coach Jill Spinelli and assistant coaches Bridget Dorman, Jim Laskarzuski, Katie Nunn. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that the General Assembly congratulates the Green Mountain Field Hockey Club on winning the 2022 National Hockey Festival U14 Championship. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be directed to send a copy of this resolution to the Green Mountain Girls Field Hockey Club.
Members, we've also received a request to read another House concurrent resolution that has been adopted. House concurrent resolution designating January 23rd through 27th, 2023 as the first annual Holocaust Education Week in Vermont. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
Whereas the Holocaust refers to Nazi Germany's annihilation during the Second World War of 6 million Jews, as well as millions of others, including Romas, LGBTQ, persons with disabilities, political dissidents, and members of other targeted populations. And whereas the pervasive level of anti-Semitism embedded in the Nazis' political philosophy was first manifested when they came to power in 1933 and rose to a new intensity on November 9th, 1938, when on Kristallnacht, known as the Night of Broken Glass, or the November Pogrom, Nazis and their sympathizers destroyed hundreds of synagogues and more than 7,000 Jewish-owned businesses and vandalized Jewish cemeteries, resulting in the deaths of approximately 100 and the arrest of 30,000 Jewish men, foreshadowing the Holocaust. And whereas in 2021, the Anti-Defamation League documented 34% rise over 2020 in anti-Semitic incidents in the United States, with 2,717 occurrences of assault, harassment, or vandalism, the highest number since the ADL began tracking the statistic on an annual basis in 1979. And whereas, even in Vermont schools, the student sharing of Nazi imagery has increased, and whereas history has repeatedly shown that hatred directed toward Jews inexorably metastasizes and threatens other marginalized groups. And whereas the Vermont Holocaust Memorial, Echoes and Reflections, and other Holocaust education organizations are collaborating for the first time with the Agency of Education to offer a Holocaust Education Week in Vermont schools during the week of January 23 through 27th, 2023, which coincides with the observance of International Holocaust Remembrance Day on January 27th, 2023. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that the General Assembly designates January 23rd to 27th, 2023 as the first annual Holocaust Education Week in Vermont, and be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be directed to send a copy of this resolution to Vermont Holocaust Memorial President Deborah Steinerman and to the Vermont Agency of Education.
Members, that completes our business for today. Are there any announcements? Member from Worcester.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, members of the House, we've just heard the reading of the resolution which the House and Senate adopted last week concerning the first ever in Vermont Holocaust Education Week in our schools. And I speak as someone who grew up surrounded by people who were Holocaust survivors who were refugees who managed to escape the Holocaust, to people who fought in the resistance against the Nazis and survived, and to the children and family members of people who fought in the resistance and did not survive, and that includes my own family. This is an important thing that has happened, and I want to thank everybody who had a role in establishing this first ever Holocaust Education Week in Vermont, and particularly the participation this year of our Agency of Education in that. I think that that's very important. I do want to note that over the past few years in both the House and the Senate, legislators present and past have also offered bills, and there will likely be bills this year introduced that will go one step further and say it's not quite enough to offer an education week. We would like to see it understood that this is something that should be taught to students in all of our schools at some point in their years in school. And the reason why this is important on the International Holocaust Remembrance Day is not just about remembrance and remembering and honoring the victims of the Holocaust, but to look to our present day, to look into the future, and recognize genocide when we see it, whoever the victims are. It's part of our role, and hopefully part of young people's role as they educate themselves and grow, that we work towards a world where genocide, which is the concerted attempt to eliminate a people because of who they are, however defined, to eliminate a class of people because they are that class of people. That is what genocide means. We know it has happened certainly in the past. It happens today. We want to prevent it from happening in the future to anybody. So I want to also thank this year Senator Lyons for having taken the lead in getting this resolution drafted, also in getting some legislation drafted, which we may see introduced this session. And in particular, I want to thank an organization that was mentioned in the resolution, and that is the Vermont Holocaust Memorial. This is an organization that's not a physical memorial in Vermont, it's a virtual memorial. This organization has been going into schools when invited and presenting programs, bringing in speakers who can tell their story, making available videos and other presentations that are available at a national level on this subject. And they have been working towards what this resolution is about, and hopefully taking a few steps further in doing that. So if anyone in this body is interested in knowing more about their work, or in having them do a presentation in a school in your community, or in any other organization in your community, I would be happy to put you in touch with them. But in closing, I would like to ask the body to welcome a visitor here today, Deborah Steinerman, who is one of the founders of the Vermont Holocaust Memorial and its president, and she's sitting up in the balcony.
Will the guest of the member from Worcester please rise and be recognized? Member from Worcester.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I neglected one point. Deborah Steinerman, after we recess, Deborah Steinerman will be here in the well of the House for a brief period of time if anyone would like to meet her or ask any questions about what their organization does or can do. Thank you.
Members, it has been recognized that today is the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Will you please join me in a moment of silence? Are there any further announcements? Member from Starksboro.
Madam Speaker, I have to admit I'm not sure if procedurally this is the time, but I would move that the resignation letter of the member from Hyde Park be journalized.
The member, that is in order. The member from Starksboro moves that. Member, I've been informed that it is our custom to have the letter printed in the journal, so no motion is needed. Member from Williston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We've just heard the resolution congratulating the Green Mountain Girls Field Hockey Club on their national championship, and I'm honored to have the talented athletes and their dedicated coaches visiting the State House today. Would you please help me in welcoming them to the chamber?
Will the guests of the member from Williston please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Brandon.
Madam Speaker, this morning I have the great honor to introduce University of Vermont legislative interns Ben Donsbach and Ali Schaefer. They are serving the House Commerce and Economic Development Committee this legislative session. In just a few weeks into our work, they are adding tremendous value to what we have done, and we appreciate their diligence and their professionalism in helping us achieve our work this legislative session. And they are seated in the gallery. Thank you.
Will the guests of the member from Brandon please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Colchester.
Yes, thank you. Every morning when I wake up, I read the Burlington Free Press, and there are two places that I look specifically. One is what time the sun sets to see if it's starting to go back and set later each day. And the other is what happened on this day in history. And I just happened to noted that this morning, in this morning's paper, that in 1945, the Russian army liberated Auschwitz and Buchenwald, which were two concentration camps. And I just thought it ties very nicely into the Holocaust Remembrance Day. So just wanted to point that out. And I also, when I was drinking my coffee, I was trying to imagine what that was like what that, what was it like to be liberated on that day? Thank you.
Are there any further announcements? Member from Dover.
Madam Speaker, on Tuesday is CUD Day. CUDs are communications union districts for folks that don't know. We have 10 of them in the state, and they are made up of our municipalities, 210 municipalities to be precise. We will see representatives here from our oldest CUD, the groundbreakers at EC Fiber, and our newest CUD from Chittenden County. I invite you to seek them out and learn more about what they're doing in your region. Thank you.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none. Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to adjourn until Tuesday, January 31st at 10 a.m.?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion this body stand in adjournment until Tuesday, January 31st, 2023 at 10 a.m.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and this body stands in adjournment until next Tuesday at 10 a.m.